Today, I teach you how to be the superstar of your family holiday gathering, because not only are we making mashed potatoes, but we are making the most delicious make-ahead mashed potato recipe that I have ever experienced. So today, let me show you how. You want to start by purchasing 5 pounds of russet potatoes. Russet potatoes are the best for this recipe because they are kind of starchy, fluffy. They're not dense, watery, buttery potatoes. You want those russets that are really fluffy and starchy. And so what I've done is I have boiled them in my Instant Pot, but you don't have to have an Instant Pot. You can just peel them, cut them up into small pieces, and boil them in a big pot on top of the stove. All right, so I have prepared about 5 pounds of my russet potatoes, and how you know they're done is if you can stick a fork through them very, very easily. So if you're boiling them on top of the stove, make sure you do it for about 15 minutes and then check them. But if you're using an Instant Pot, I just push the meat button, and I think that's about 12 minutes of actual cooking once the Instant Pot heats up. All right, so now let's drain the potatoes. Okay, before you put the potatoes in the mixing bowl, let me teach you about the first 2 cold ingredients. About 2/3 of a stick of butter is what I'm gonna put in the bottom of my bowl first. And I do that first because I want the hot potatoes to go ahead and melt down the butter pretty easily. Next thing is a package of cream cheese. This really helps it be that make-ahead recipe that can be frozen for a couple of weeks and then thawed out on your holiday or your meal day, thawed out for the morning and then baked in the oven right before you eat. So I have let this brick of cream cheese soften on my counter for a little while just to ease the melting of it. All right, now I've got the butter and the cream cheese in the mixing bowl, and I'm gonna add the hot potatoes on top. You can use your stand mixer, or if you have a hand mixer, that makes light work of this part of the process. Be careful not to overbeat these potatoes because they kind of get gummy or sticky if you beat them on high for too long. So I'm just gonna do low to medium speed until everything in the bowl is combined. Okay, now that we've combined the hot potatoes with the cream cheese and the butter, it's time for the milk. I recommend don't just use milk out of the refrigerator. Get the star of the show, evaporated milk. This gives it that really creamy, rich texture and flavor, just perfect for the holidays. You want to go for the gusto, it's the holidays. Now, I've poured about a half of a can of evaporated milk to start with. Let's mix that up a little bit and see what the consistency looks like. Okay, the final dairy ingredient is sour cream for this recipe. And this is a huge tub, but all I'm gonna do is put a few heaping tablespoons of it in there. It's probably gonna be equivalent to about 10 or 12 ounces of sour cream. This recipe is not for those who are lactose intolerant, by the way. Okay, now let's talk about seasonings. You need to put salt in your mashed potatoes to give them that little kick of savory flavor. So I really don't measure the salt, so don't look. If you're afraid of salt, this is gonna scare you. Okay, now I'm just gonna take a little taste. Don't worry, I don't double dip. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. So honestly, I don't exactly measure that salt. I just put it in my palm like that, but I'm thinking it's probably a heaping tablespoon up to 2 tablespoons. But don't be afraid of that, because remember, we did 5 pounds of russet potatoes. That's a lot of potatoes, and it's gonna go into a big 9.5 by 13 casserole dish. So 1 to 2 tablespoons is probably the right amount, but just start small and add in to taste. Okay, so I have a dish here, a casserole dish, about a 9 by 13, and this dish is freezer safe. So make sure whatever you're going to use as your dish, make sure it can go from freezer, to thawing out on the counter and then into your oven. So usually a glass like a Pyrex or a stoneware works best for this application. I always prepare my casserole dish with some flavored like Pam or butter spray, just generic from the grocery store. Now it's time to pour the Make Ahead mashed potato mix into the casserole dish. I don't want you to worry if it looks too loose or too liquid, because once it cools and goes into your refrigerator, it's going to thicken up because of all of those dairy ingredients. Okay, so I always use these as what they're made to be used for, Make Ahead mashed potatoes. So I'll make these a week or two before I need to serve them, when I know I have some extra time at home. Then I let them cool on my countertop for an hour or two before wrapping them up nice and tight with plastic wrap, press and seal, or foil. And then you can go ahead and put them in the freezer for a couple of weeks. The day you want to serve them, pull them out in the morning, let them thaw on your countertop, and then when it's time to serve them, put them in your oven at 350 for about 45 minutes to an hour. Give them a good stir, maybe 5 more minutes in the oven. Let them sit on the counter for 5 to 10 minutes before serving, and you will be the mashed potato master of your family meal. So I hope you love carbs as much as we do. Carbs are love, and it's the holidays. So I'm thrilled to share this recipe with you. I'm Hope George, your recipe realtor and your best hope in real estate.